Hello, my name is Bogdan Polak and I will present today's FireDAC skill sprint. Some words about me. I'm application developer since 1984. My first algorithm was developed on the paper when I was reading a computer magazine. I'm a big believer that Object Pascal is great language, and I'm developed application Object Pascal since 1988. I'm also Delphi advocate, and I'm using it professionally since the Delphi 4. I like very much AnyDAC and FireDAC. I'm great follower of this technology and liked very much that it is inside RadStudio now. About my work, I'm working as a technical consultant for about 10 years at BSC Polska, which is local representative of Embarcadero. I'm also a trainer and a coach. I'm also author of some Delphi or C++ builder training courses, and I'm a speaker on a Polish Embarcadero and community events. These skill sprints will work with RadStudio, Delphi, C++ Builder and App Method, and of course with VCL and FireMonkey, using Object Pascal and C++ language. And we can use this knowledge on any device, on any platform, Windows, OS X, Android and iOS. All the information is available in documentation of the app method of the RadStudio, and you can find the links on this page. Skill sprints work as a short 20 minutes demonstration about one topic, and mostly demonstration and discussion. Okay, we can start. Today's subject is Cascading Options System. At the beginning, I would like to say some words about FireDAC generally. When I'm talking about AnyDAC or FireDAC, every time I'm using two words, universal and powerful. I think that powerful is very well understandable, and I don't need to explain this, what does it mean for you, but it is very important to understand what every one of you means universal. This universality is important for your business, for your applications and for your future. I think that my today's presentation will explain a little what this universality is. When we are thinking about DAC options, we understand that this is very important because it defines how such DAC like FireDAC will work. The FireDAC got plenty of options, and we can optimize or define more universality thanks of these options. We've got three levels of options: the highest and the lowest. The highest is manager, and the lowest are commands or data sets. And the nature of this option system is close similar to CSS, cascading style sheets for the HTML. The options are propagated from the top level to the bottom level, and on each level can be overwritten, and this overridden options will be propagated to the bottom, of course, also too. We've got so many options, FireDAC options, that they are divided into 5 categories: fetch, format, update, resource and transaction. Here you've got short explanations what are the meaning of these categories. And now I would like to illustrate these options, presenting you some of them. Here we've got not the most important, not the best one, but some of them. For example, unidirectional is an option using which we can define how row sets are working in a mode of unidirectional or bidirectional way. I will switch to FireDAC documentation, which is great and great source of knowledge. All the option system is defined in working with the connections, and here we've got paragraph setting options, and here we've got all the 5 categories. If we want to find for example reds skip or reds max options, we can find them here, and each of them are very detailed, documented, very good documented. All the details we can find in the description. For example, here is the information that reds max and reds skips can be translated to top or limit keywords inside select statement, and it depends on RDBMS system. In some of them it will be emulated, these options will be emulated, in other could be transferred into top or limit. Okay, format options, sample format options, for example display format of the displaying date time field. Sample update options, generator name is very important for platforms which have got generators or sequences. If we select update options, we can find generator name, options description, and much more details, which is connected with fetch generator points. In generator name we can choose name of a sequence of generator from which values will be getted, and using fetch generator point we can define how it will work. Using this generator or this sequence, and also we've got here all information on which platforms it will work. Interbase and Firebird we've got generators, Oracle and PostgreSQL we've got sequences. On the other platforms these options have no meaning. And other samples, transactions, we can define how transactions will work. For example, isolation level, if we want dirty reads or repeatable reads or committed reads. Auto commit and auto start will define how automated transaction management system inside FireDAC works, and disconnect actions allow us to define how FireDAC will manage open active transactions during the connection close. The FireDAC should commit those transactions or roll back those transactions. Now it's time for detail delay option, which I will use for our demo, for our today first demo. What this option means? This is delay between master dataset scroll and detail dataset refresh. If we will scroll much more faster the number of milliseconds which will be defined in these options, then getting of refreshing or detailed data sets will be wait for next scroll and scroll in, and thanks of that we can save plenty of detailed SQLs sent to SQL server. It is useful only in master detail relationships. Okay, it's time for the demo. During this demo I will show you also how cascading options system are working and how they are stored inside any file. Now we can switch to RAD Studio and open sample demo project. Here we've got a simple application which is based on a interbase database. This database is created based on Northwind sample. This Northwind sample is used by many demos of FireDAC. It's very useful for demoing many of FireDAC options and features. We got master detail relationship between orders and order details. In order details we've got definition of this master relationship, and also we've got active monitoring to count numbers of detail selects sent to SQL server. Here is very simple code which is counting number of the selects, and also we've got code to open connection and open data sets, and no any other code. Very simple and straightforward applications. So let's run this application and see how good or how bad this application is with its performance and RDBMS performance. We are scrolling through the master grid, and after each scroll the detail query for the detailed data is sent to SQL server. During some of the seconds we sent almost 100 of the 1000 of the selects. Now we've got detail delay which is 0, what means that just after the scroll of the master the detail select will be sent to RDBMS platform. Let's change this option. We can change these options on each level, on a highest connection definition level, on a connection level, connection component level, or on a data set level. Let's review this option, how it is accessible on each of these levels. We can modify connection and put inside the fetch options master detail relationship 330 milliseconds. Okay, and we can also change these options in the connection component. We've got fetch option, we've got here fetch option group, which we can expand, and detail delay options. Let's place this number, and of course we've got fetch option inside datasets, and you can see that this value was propagated from the highest level. Let's do some tests. We can change to 0, and here in the datasets will be 0 also. And if we got default value, which is 0, and refresh the definition of the connection, let's close and open this connection, the value we will be getting from the top level, from the connection definition, and propagated to the lowest level, to the bottom level, to the datasets. Okay, let's review how this application will work after this change, and we will see the performance of the applications. Now it's much more better. We've got only 3 detailed SQLs. Now we've got 4, and if we will do some browse, sometimes we will receive new detailed data, or sometimes not. Maybe it's not good for user to not refresh detailed dataset, but just after the stopping of browsing, we can see the details, and some runs of the application customer will use to such situation. Okay, now it's time to see where this option is stored. All the FireDAC connection options is stored inside ini file, where we can find this ini file. This ini file we can find in the public documents folder. If you don't remember where this folder is, the best way is to run FireDAC Explorer, and on the title of this Explorer we can find the detailed address of the FD connection devs file ini. We can get this file and put this file into our applications, and these applications we get this definition data from this ini file. Let's look how it can work. I will open the public folder FireDAC FD connection ini. Okay, let's copy this file and open project exe folder, show in the Explorer, Win32, debug, and place here this ini file. I will clear all other not important definitions and put only Northwind IB definitions. Save it, and let's change these options to 0 to switch to the, if user want to refresh just after, we can tell to the user that it will drop performance of SQL Server, but if you want, you can do it. Change this option to 0. Okay, let's save it and run the applications. Run the application, and now we've got this not well performant habit. Okay. Now it's time for the second demo. Our second demo will be connected with data type mapping, and it shows how very universal is FireDAC. For example, when we've got table orders, we've got fields order, we've got identifiers, order and product, and we've got unit price, which is different on a interface, in the interface and in the SQL Server. and when we map these fields, they are incompatible between these platforms. And I will show you how we can change the way of mapping and define new mapping for this in this situation, in this scenario. Okay, let's switch to the Red Studio, close the project, open new VCL form applications. I will place sample datasets here. Okay, we've got two connections to the SQL Server database and to the interface database. They are very similar, very similar structure. And the queries are also similar. Let's review them. Here we've got select order ID, product ID, unit price from Northwind DB order details, and I will execute it now. Okay, it will connect to the Northwind database in SQL Server. Let's wait a moment to receive the results. Okay, we've got it. Here you can see that the zloty is Polish currency. It means that this is currency field. Great. And when we run interbase query, which is similar but not the same one, we've got BCD fields. And let's imagine that we would like to build universal application which can work on both platforms, on a SQL Server or on the interbase. Let's define such universal query which can be switched between the SQL Server and interbase without any problems. Let's define such query. At the beginning, we would like to switch from the SQL Server to interbase, and let's try to run this select. It is not possible because of the improper syntax. And thanks of the macro language and preprocessing inside available inside FireDAC, we can use such macros like ID to define universal selects or CQLs independent of the platforms, and the physical driver will translate this universal definition into the specific definitions. Execute, and you can execute it on an interface, and also we can execute this on a SQL Server. This is the first problem which we've got, and the second, which to have so universal application. And the second one is persistent field persistent field and types of these fields. Let's open field editor, add persistent fields. We've got currency field here, and I think that you will you will understand that if we switch from SQL Server to interbase, when we've got BCD field, not currency fields, we will receive error that types are incompatible. Let's use FireDAC options to change type from BCD to currency. How we can do it? Using format options and defined map rules. Before definition of new map rules, we should switch on own map rules options, which is the meaning of this option is that these maps will be used. And now we can define the precision, it was 18 digits numbers, and change date time, the data field BCD to data type BCD to data type currency. Okay, now we can close the connections, Interbase and Firebase. Let's close these connections and once again try to execute this SQL. Okay, and now it's working because BCD field was converted into the currency field, and we've got here still currency field, but we are connecting to the interbase, and this is great options, and we thanks of many of options and many of features like data type mapping, we can really build universal multi-platform applications. And even if you don't need such universality because your application are on one of the RDBMS platform, it is not a good way of building application, because someday in the future this universality could be useful and could be required by your customers, and you are ready to implement this using FireDAC. We now get back to the slides. Preprocessing will be the subject of the following of the next FireDAC skill sprints, and I will not say too much about it because it's not the subject of today's skill sprint, but this is very important for this universality. You can find some references of the FireDAC and of the settings option system, and I will show the plan for the next time and next skill sprints. Thank you very much for today's presentations, and now I will switch to discussions and to questions. Thank you.
The FireDAC has some knowledge systems which knows how and each of the platforms are working and how SQLs are built. And in many situations, there is possible to find the way how to build special SQL for the SQL Server or for the Firebird, or for example for DB2. This is then something like knowledge system, I think I can understand.
Thank you. So it looks like Raymond followed up here. He was referring to the ID order details. How does FireDAC know the ID? Is it from the connection?
No, I didn't show it during the presentation, because defining of master detail relationship is not the subject of today's skill sprint, but there is three properties, and detail master foreign key and detail key is defined in these three properties. And after the skill sprint, there will be accessible detailed step-by-step how to build these demos by your hands, and you can find all the details about building this master detail relationship.
Okay, next question is from Bjarne. Looking at fetch option, auto fetch all set to AF all would assume that that selects all records, but it seems not to. What then is it for?
Okay, I can check it, but probably that depends on the platform or on the configuration of the data set. But generally, idea should be that if you've got fetch all, it means that all the records will be fetched and during the opening of the data sets. And if you have the same nature like it was with BDA, for example, there is the options when you can define to load records on demand, but all these records will be loaded on demand in the packages. Packages are defined in the option which is named package size. And when we define, for example, package size 30, it means that 30 rows will be fetched in one step.
Thanks. We have a couple of questions in regards to some links that were shown. I would like to let everybody know that I'm going to be making a follow-up blog post for this presentation. It isn't live yet, but if you go to the community.embarcadero.com, at the top there's the blog drop-down menu, and you can click on my name, Brian Alexakis, and you will there be able to find the blog. I'll be sure to have that up by the end of today, and of course the replay will be available shortly, probably at the beginning of next week. And in that blog post I'll be sure to add a lot of the links that were shown and some more information as well.
Of course, and there will be also source files for both demos, and which I think is much more better than the source files is document which describes step by step how to build those demos by yourself, and I recommend to review this documentation.
Okay, a couple more questions here. When deploying the FD connection def.ini file, the password is exposed. Is there a preferred method or practice in hiding this password?
Yeah, it's not a good way to expose password in FD connection ini file. And there is no way to hash this password or something like that. The only way is to remove this password and to put this password in the parameters of the connection when you are loading this, when you are getting this password from the window log to the application or something like that. But generally not in the FD connection ini files, because it could be really exposed and not the best way to define such connection. It is only for development to use this scenario.
Okay, let's see. We had a question about how you were able to add the 4 components to the blank VCL form. Well, I think really the replay will be available shortly, and then you can watch those steps again. I don't know if there's anything in particular you'd like to comment on that, or?
Yeah, I agree. And if there will be any comments on community.embarcadero.com, I will try to address them myself or with help with Brian. Of course, I am ready to address those questions. If you have any connected with documentation or with step-by-step how to build the demos.
Okay, let's see. DBMS setting, Boolean fields as bit. How can we map it as Boolean?
Oh, I didn't try it, and I can address this question at the moment, but I can review. If you will forward me this question, I will try to address them to someone who is asking.
Great. We also have Harmut is asking about the syntax for a SQL command. He's saying it doesn't work. I'm not sure how we can field that in a. Maybe you can email or make a comment on the blog, perhaps.
I agree. I agree, because this is the maybe more support questions, the question than general way of working FireDAC technology, because
Right.
I'm sure that it is possible to define well-working SQL for each platform.